Hi friends, Dr. Farakat here. Welcome to Diagnox. Today I am going to discuss another interesting topic, mucormycosis. You would have come across many videos regarding mucormycosis. Today's video would be a short video on how easily or how early we can diagnose mucormycosis, or is it really easy to diagnose mucormycosis? Mucormycosis from a dental surgeon's perspective in this COVID era. Mucormycosis is caused by a fungi Mucorrhizae, and the most frequently isolated species from Mucorrhizae family is Rhizophus oryzae. Even though there are 6 types of mucormycosis, the rhinocerebral or rhino-orbitocerebral is the most common type or the important type. It's called as rhino-orbitocerebral because of the frequent involvement of orbital contents and brain aggressively. I will discuss the mode of spread later in this video. The infection is acquired through aerodigestive tract with no person-to-person spread. How easily or how early can we diagnose mucormycosis? The earliest signs and symptoms could most probably be unilateral facial pain, sinusitis or orbital cellulitis. From a dental surgeon point of view, a characteristic necrotic eschar on the hard palate, nasal cavity could be something characteristic and the patient will be presenting with. But with the onset of COVID, these characteristic features are missing in most of the patients we encounter. We are seeing more and more patients with mobility of teeth in one side of the jaw. So, when a patient comes to us with necrotic ulcers, facial pain, orbital cellulitis on one side of the jaw, we can suspect mucormycosis. Many times when we see these ulceration on hard palate, we think that these are the initial signs of disease, but it's not true. Ulceration of hard palate is a sign of disease extension from sinus rather than the expected initial sign of disease. When we see ulcerations, it is like the damage has already done. The pterygopalatine fossa actually acts as a reservoir through which the disease spreads to the adjacent structures like orbit, infratemporal fossa, palatine bone and the mucosa. The necrotic areas are as a result of thrombosis of blood vessels and tissue infraction. The orbital involvement is as a result of infection or vascular compromise. Contralateral orbital involvement suggests cavernous sinus thrombosis, although bilateral rhinocerebral mucormycosis is rare. I had a patient who complained of blurring of vision, confusion, bloody nasal discharge, who had uncontrolled diabetes and a post-COVID patient. Just keep in mind that bloody nasal discharge is an early sign of CNS damage as a result of cavernous sinus thrombosis. Early diagnosis of mucormycosis is very important. Histopathologic examination of surgical specimen shows right branching aseptate hyphae with tissue necrosis and evidence of angioinvasion. But most early active lesions are within the maxillary sinus or pterygopalatine fossa, and we may not see the lesion in the oral cavity, and the fungal culture which are usually done are negative. And as far as imaging modalities are concerned, there is little help in early stages of rhinocerebral mucormycosis. This is a suspected case of mucormycosis where a patient reported with unilateral facial pain. During the initial stages, OPG may not yield a positive result. CBCT of this particular patient shows an aggressive mucosal thickening with extension into adjacent areas. Initial stages may show minimal mucosal thickening or thickening of extraocular muscles in CT. So here the most important thing is frequent CT or MRI examination of the suspected patient because of the faster disease progression and for a proper surgical planning. Herpes zoster infection is one interesting condition which most of the dental surgeons gets confused when it comes to mucormycosis. Herpes zoster, when it involves the maxillary division of trigeminal nerve, clinically it presents as multiple vesicles along the malar region as well as ulcerations on one half of the palate. So patient will have severe unilateral pain and there is always a tendency to misdiagnose it as mucormycosis, and of late we are seeing many cases of herpes zoster as well. So here the most important thing is early diagnosis and early start of acyclovir. Just keep in mind that mucormycosis is a fungal infection which requires aggressive treatment with amphotericin B as well as surgical debridement, whereas herpes zoster doesn't require any surgical planning. It can be effectively managed by high dose of acyclovir. So when a patient visits a dental clinic with unilateral facial pain, periorbital swelling, severe sinusitis, mobile teeth, we can suspect mucormycosis, and a basic imaging modality like OPG is very necessary, after which the suspected cases can be followed up by higher investigation like CT or cone beam CT. Also, a careful medical history of the patient is very important. The history includes a recent hospitalization, a recent history of fever, post-COVID patients, especially patients who are treated with systemic steroids, and most importantly uncontrolled diabetic patients. And there are certain things we can do to avoid post complications, like doing extraction in a sterile way, in a less traumatic way, not to expose bone into the oral cavity, a proper suturing. And what I would like to say is treat all patients like a patient who has undergone radiotherapy, like patient who is expecting an osteonecrosis, so that we can avoid our post-op complications in our regular dental practice. I would like to conclude the presentation by saying that mucormycosis is an aggressive condition, and cervicofacial mucormycosis is something that a dental surgeon can encounter any day or every day, and early diagnosis of mucormycosis plays a very big role in patient well-being as well as management. With this comes the end of the presentation. I hope you would have liked this video, and if you like our videos, kindly subscribe our YouTube channel Diagnox. Thank you.